As empath and highly sensitive soul, it is so very important that you have very strict and clear boundaries to protect yourself. Because if you don't, it can be very, very overwhelming because you're feeling so much and you can get sucked into all the drama all around you. And that is why it's so important that you have these very clear and strict boundaries to really protect yourself. And in this video, I want to share with you 8 tips on how you can start managing your boundaries more effectively to really stand in your power, to continue standing in your power without being overwhelmed by all that you're experiencing, all that you're feeling. So stay tuned. Hello to beautiful soul, welcome back to another video, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so excited and grateful that you're here. My name is Kay Sanders, and this channel is all about helping awakening souls on their spiritual awakening journey so they can really awaken to their power within, step into their power, and create a life of more success, abundance, and freedom, all while living their life on purpose. And if that's you, I do want to extend an invitation. Please be sure to subscribe and also hit the notification bell so you can get notified whenever I release the content. So one of the things that we empath and highly sensitive souls experience is what we feel so much on so many different levels. We're not just feeling the feelings and emotions from other people, but also from on the collective level. So there's so much that we are picking up on, which is why it's so very important that you really have those clear boundaries to protect yourself, to protect your sanity. Because if you don't, you can really feel so very overwhelmed where you don't really want to go anywhere, you don't want to be around people. Your life in general becomes so much more challenging because you're simply so overwhelmed. And it's also very frustrating because you may then wonder, what is going on with me? Am I going bipolar? Am I going crazy? What's going on, you know? And that's why it's really so important that you have those boundaries, because if you don't, then you also pull away from life. If you don't know how to deal with all that you're experiencing, if you're so overwhelmed with it, well, of course you're going to pull away from everything, right? Because you don't want to be around anyone, and it is just so overwhelming. Think of it like that. It's like an overload to your system. So let me share with you those 8 tips that you can start implementing or maybe tweaking your own strategy, because these are really like empath survival tips here that I'm sharing with you that are very, very important for any sensitive soul, any empath, any highly sensitive soul, to have somewhat of a protocol of what to do to really have those clear boundaries to protect yourself. So the first one is become aware how you feel. When you notice that you're not feeling okay, that is a sign that something is not all right. So here you want to tune in to see, why am I feeling this way? What caused me to feel this way? Because you want to explore, is this something that you did or didn't do, or something that someone else did that you didn't like, or even, just maybe there's something going on a collective level. Because when you become aware of what is really going on, that gives you then the awareness, right? That gives you the awareness, and it also gives you the choice to do something about it. Because if you're noticing that, well, I feel this way because someone made me do something that I really didn't want to do, or they convinced me to do something that I didn't want to do, that meant you stepped outside of your boundaries. You stepped over your own boundaries. You didn't honor yourself. So here, if you're feeling not okay because of that, well, you didn't have a choice. Or another example would be, let's say you're around a lot of people, or just maybe one person in particular, and that person is always very negative. And then all of a sudden you're feeling their negativity. You're feeling so blah because you're picking up their stuff. So becoming aware of how you feel is really the first step here, because when you know that you're not feeling okay, well, like I said, then you can go a little deeper, dig a little deeper to find out, well, why do I not feel okay? It may also be that you were triggered by something, and that can also give you the opportunity for some growth, for some healing, for some releasing, or really just changing your mindset around it, whatever it is. But becoming aware when you're not feeling okay is really powerful, because then you can do something about it. Then the second tip here is say no when you mean no, and only yes when you actually mean yes. So I just mentioned something for the tip 1 is like, let's say someone talked you into doing something and you felt obligated to do it. That's when you actually said yes when you actually meant no. And it's often that we say yes to something because, well, we don't want to upset someone. We don't want to, look bad or anything like that. But deep down, we actually don't want to do that. Now, when that happens, you have also a choice. Now, you can say no and say, you know what, I really don't want to right now, or right now is not a good time. Or if it's something that is really important where you would feel bad if you would say no, then here you can still say yes, but from a different perspective. You're choosing to say yes because you know this is important. So it's a choice. No one talked you into saying yes, even though you meant no. You're making a choice for yourself to, like, you know what? I know I honor that I really don't want to do that, but I'm still going to choose to do it because it is important. That is the big difference here, because that means you're still honoring your boundaries. You're not just saying yes to everything and anything that comes your way. You're choosing what you're saying yes to. That is so very powerful because you truly want to honor your boundaries. If there's something that doesn't feel like you want to do, you want to say no. And you can always say no in a way that is not hurtful to the other person. And if they still end up being hurt, well, like I said, you have to stick to your boundaries. Let's say someone invites you to a big party and you know you do not want to be in a big party because it is just, input overload, emotional overload. And if you still go, that is then on you. You have then dishonored your own boundaries. You are not honoring yourself. But if you say, you know what, I would love to go, but I don't think I can. And you can explain to people that, you know what, I don't like being in crowds. If they love you, they will understand, right? So say no when you mean no, and only yes when you mean yes. Or if you do need to say yes, even though it's a no, choose to say yes. But honor that it's actually a no. That is so empowering, because then no one ever can make you do anything. The only time someone can make you do something is because you allow them to, right? So don't. Stand in your power and honor your own boundaries. That is really the key here. No one can honor your boundaries unless you honor them first. So you can manage your boundaries by really honoring them first, right? Say no when you mean no, and only yes when you mean yes. And then the third one is you want to check in with yourself often. Like, check in with your energy. How does it feel? And what you can do here is just tune in and just kind of feel within your body. How does your body feel? And then you can go a little further. Tap into the energy outside of your body. How does it feel? Does it feel free flowing? Does it feel bumpy? Does it feel kind of, there's a lot of friction going on? How does that feel? How does your energy feel? Because also, your energy is the signal to the universe, right? Whatever you're feeling, well, that's what you're sending out. So you want to be careful what you're sending out, because if you're in the energy, let's say obligation, right? If you feel like you always have to do stuff because other people want you to, and you're in this energy of obligation, well, you're sending that out and you keep attracting that back. And also, when you're in a frantic energy, when you're not feeling okay, well, you're not feeling okay, right? You don't want to be in that energy. So by you tuning in and checking in with yourself, how do I feel? How do I feel, right? Think of it like that. When you're putting on brand new shoes, you're kind of testing out, how do I feel? Do they feel good? Oh, no, they don't feel good. Well, I don't want them. Then you're going to get a different pair of shoes. Same thing. So you want to, well, it's not really the same, but similar from the aspect here, from how it feels. So when you don't feel okay, you don't have to stay in that energy. Here, then what you can do is you want to then cleanse and clear. And what I like to do is just imagine a waterfall of white light. Or I like to really connect with Mother Earth and Father Sky, and really allowing, the energy from up above to come down and from down below to come up. So really, getting that cleansing energy from both sides. And like I said, even the waterfall of white light. Now, what you can also do is, because whenever you go somewhere, whenever you're engaging with someone, there could be energetic cords attached, right? So what you can then do is imagine, having a big scissor and, going all around you and cutting all the cords. Or you can even call up on Archangel Michael to have him use his sword to really cut all these cords. But even you just using a waterfall of white light can be very cleansing and clearing. And also, like I said, connecting with Mother Earth, connecting with Father Sky. This is so very powerful. I like to just sit there for a moment and really be in that energy, receiving the energetic flow from up above and down below. And I'm just sitting there and really soaking it up. That also helps me really raise my vibration as well. But whenever you're not feeling okay, really do something to cleanse your energy, because if you stay in that not okay energy, well, your day is not going to go that well. You're not going to feel okay, and you're going to attract even more stuff that makes you feel not okay, right? So as soon as you're noticing that you're not feeling okay, do something about it. And by you checking in with yourself often, that can really help you gain some insights. Well, what is going on? And then when you are not feeling okay, then you can do something about it. Then the fourth one is avoid toxic people, avoid toxic places, situations, if you can, if you can avoid it. I mean, if let's say you have a job and it is very toxic, it's very difficult for you to avoid it unless you actually quit your job or find something else. But if you do have to go into toxic environments or have to be around toxic people, let's say you have family members that, well, you kind of can't avoid them, right? Then at least do what you need to do to protect your energy. And I also have a video, I link it in the description below, on how to protect your energy as an empath, because oh my god, that is so important. Because you are an empath, you are a highly sensitive soul, you are picking up stuff from other people. So if you're around a person that is always just toxic and negative and just you do not like being around them, you need to protect yourself. Well, otherwise you're picking up their stuff. And what you can do is imagine a bubble of white light around you, or an orb of white light around you before you go into that situation, before you go around that person. Put that bubble of protection around you. Really see that as your protection bubble, that nothing negative can come in. But then also, as soon as you leave that person, that situation, that place, do the cleansing, do the clearing, do the releasing to really cleanse yourself again, because you don't want to take that stuff with you. But then also, if someone is really constantly negative and constantly getting in your space or whatnot, if you're around it, just set your boundaries. Like, no, I do not want to be around this. Or you can even tell the person, like, look, while you're here, can you please not talk about this stuff? You need to be responsible for your own space. And your own space also means your inner space, right? So if something outside of you bothers you, if there's a person that is just very, very toxic and you do not like being around them, well, tell them that. You can tell them that, look, I love being with you, but you are really making this very hard for me. Can we please drop this topic? Can we please not talk about this? Because it really upsets me, or whatever you want to say, right? But honor your feeling, honor how you feel about these things, and really try to avoid it. And like I said, if you can't, then do something that will help you manage that easier. And then of course you want to do more cleansing, more grounding, more releasing, more cord cutting once you leave that situation, to get rid of all the stuff, because you don't want to keep it with you or take it with you, because then it becomes yours, and you don't want that, right? Then the fifth one is avoid crowded places if you can. Right? If you can. I mean, if you know that you can't go into a big party with, hundreds of people in there, then don't go. If you know that it's very challenging for you. And here also, if you can. If you can't avoid it, then do something to protect your energy and then cleanse and clear afterwards. But try as best as you can to just avoid crowded places. Like, for the longest time, and I mean, actually I still do that now, I did not go to any stores during busy times. I usually go in the morning when no one is there, or now I actually just order the food and the groceries and it gets delivered, so I don't have to go to the store into the places. But whenever I do have to go, let's say Walmart or a mall or anything like that, I go either during the week or early in the morning on a weekend, just to make sure that I avoid all the crowdedness. And I definitely don't go around holidays, because no, that is very, very challenging. But you know what hurts you, you know what is challenging for you. So here, honor yourself, honor your own boundaries, do something to avoid these places if you can. And if you can't, like I said, you got to do something about it. You got to protect yourself. And then cleanse and clear and grounding is also very, very important, because when you go into these places or be around all these people, these toxic people, it is very easy for you to get ungrounded because, I mean, this is like, emotional overload here, right? Energetic overload because you're picking up so much. So you want to ground yourself back into the here and now. You do some cleansing, clearing, releasing, and then grounding. Very, very important. And like I said, check out the video about how to protect your energy as an empath. Like I said, link is in the description below. I'll teach you some additional tips on how can you actually protect your energy. Then the sixth tip is make you time a non-negotiable. You need time for self-care. You need time to be alone. And because during that time when you're alone, you're actually recharging. You are getting back to center. You're realigning and you're also releasing. So make that an absolute must on a daily basis where you have some you time, whether it's for meditation or inner contemplation or just relaxing, self-care, whatever you need. Because we often get depleted by everything that's going on. When we're around people, we get depleted. I'm pretty sure you've heard the term energy vampires, right? Well, if you are around energy vampires, that can suck your energy dry, right? But not just that, but even when there's a lot going on a collective level, like full moon, new moon, retrogrades, those type of things, right? Or if there's like some kind of natural disaster, well, guess what? We feel all that. We feel all that. So we feel a lot on a collective level. So having that you time is really key to help you really get back to center and realign and really just keep your sanity, right? So make that a non-negotiable. If you have kids, if you have loved ones that don't understand, just try to go into your room, just talk to them first, like, look, I really need some me time right now. Please give me that. And do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you need. And if you can, sometimes you may do longer and then other times you may do shorter. But make that a non-negotiable. It has to be a must. On a daily basis, you need some you time to just kind of get back to center. Okay? So really honor that for yourself as well, that you need to gift yourself. I'm not saying giving it, but gifting it to yourself, because it's a gift to you to not be overwhelmed by all that you're experiencing. Then the seventh tip here is decide what is acceptable for you and what is not. Because you don't have to put up with everything just because it's out there or whatnot. If there's a person that you don't like being around, don't. If you don't like how people treat you, don't. Really decide what is acceptable for you and what is not. Whatever is not acceptable, then stand in your power and demand that, no, I do not like to be treated like that. I do not like to experience that. This is definitely a no-go for me here. Decide. Decide for yourself, because you do not have to put up with everything just because you get to decide what is acceptable for you or not. And this is also important about honoring your boundaries and managing your boundaries. If something happens that you really don't like, you do not have to put up with that. You have a choice then to make. You can either talk to that person, you can walk away, you can look for different situations. So let's say you're at a job that is very toxic, that you are not being valued, you're not being appreciated, then you have a choice too. You can choose to stay there and be pissed off about it and be upset about it and, come home and always just like, feeling really bad. Or you can say, well, I really don't like that, so I'm going to make a choice. I'm going to look for a different job or do something else, right? Or maybe talk to whoever is causing that feeling. You then have a choice. So you do not have to put up with everything just because you do have rights. You are not meant to experience anything that is not to your highest and greatest good, but it comes with awareness. When you have the awareness, then you have the power of choice. And then the eighth and final tip is learn to trust your intuition. Learn to listen to your intuition and trust your intuition and also yourself. If you're noticing that you're not feeling okay, listen to that. Tune in. What am I not liking? What am I feeling here? What is going on? Or if you're noticing that, I was going to do something, but then there's an inner feeling that something feels off, listen to that, because that's your intuition telling you this is not to your highest and greatest good. So learn how to really listen closely and then trust whatever you're feeling. Because if it's coming from within, it is meant to be listened to. It is meant to be trusted. It is meant to be acted upon. Now, of course, if it's coming from your mind, that's a different story. But if it's really coming from within, that a gut feeling, listen to that. These are the 8 tips that I really found very beneficial for myself to really manage my boundaries. And I really felt called to share that with you because as empath, like I said, I mean, we're feeling so much. And if you don't have clear boundaries, it can really overwhelm you with all that you're feeling. So I really hope that these tips, were beneficial for you. Now, if you did like this video so far, do me a favor, hit the like button and maybe share it with someone. I would greatly appreciate it. And also leave a comment below. Let me know, how do you manage your boundaries? Do you have clear boundaries set for yourself? And then if so, how do you manage and how do you make sure that you're not dishonoring your boundaries or someone else dishonors your boundaries? Let me know. I would love to know what works for you and what doesn't. But here you go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Now also be sure to check out this next video here about how to protect your energy as an empath. I really think you're going to benefit from it and love the video. Until then, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, make it an amazingly abundant and successful day. Namaste.